Welcome to the AI and GIS Frontier podcast. Let's get into today's topic.
Today we are tackling AI ethics and geospatial governance. As AI capabilities in the geospatial domain accelerate, the governance frameworks are struggling to keep pace, and this has real implications for GIS professionals.
What are the unique ethical challenges with geospatial AI?
Geospatial AI has distinct risks that general AI ethics frameworks do not fully address. There is geoprivacy, the risk of revealing where people live, work, and move through spatial analysis. There is spatial fairness and bias, where AI models trained on data from wealthy neighborhoods perform poorly in underserved areas. There is data provenance, knowing where your geospatial training data came from and whether its use is appropriate. And there is misuse prevention, because the same technology that maps deforestation for conservation can be repurposed for surveillance. A published framework identified these as the core geo-AI ethical principles: geoprivacy, data provenance and quality, spatial fairness and bias, participation, lifecycle governance, misuse and surveillance prevention, and inclusion.
The EU AI Act has gaps when it comes to satellite-based AI.
Yes, and this is a significant concern. The EU AI Act focuses primarily on terrestrial applications but leaves regulatory gaps in AI-driven space technologies. High-resolution satellite imaging combined with AI-based biometric tracking and behavioral analysis falls into an ambiguous zone. The technology exists to track individual vehicles, identify building construction patterns, and monitor agricultural activity at the field level from space. Current regulations do not clearly address when this crosses the line from environmental monitoring into surveillance. For GIS professionals working with high-resolution satellite data, understanding these boundaries is important. You might be asked to build a system that technically works, but raises serious ethical questions.
How does this affect forestry and environmental work specifically?
In forestry, AI-based monitoring of logging activity raises questions about whose forests are being watched and by whom. Indigenous communities have expressed concerns about satellite-based monitoring of traditional territories without consent. In some cases, deforestation monitoring systems have been used to target small-scale farmers, while industrial-scale clearing goes unaddressed due to political connections. The technology is neutral, but how it gets deployed reflects power dynamics. Environmental professionals need to think carefully about who benefits from the monitoring systems they build and whether affected communities have been consulted.
Geographic bias in AI models is another concern you mentioned.
This is very practical. Most geospatial AI training data comes from North America, Europe, and parts of Asia. Models trained primarily on temperate landscapes can fail dramatically in tropical, arid, or Arctic environments. I have seen forest classification models that work perfectly in Oregon, but cannot distinguish between mangrove species in Southeast Asia. For environmental consultancies working on international projects, validating model performance in your specific geography is essential. You cannot assume a model trained in one biome will transfer to another. The responsible approach is to always collect local validation data and report model performance honestly, including where it fails.
What about privacy standards for geospatial data collection?
The research describes comprehensive privacy, data protection, and storage standards as largely non-existent in many countries where geospatial data is being collected. This is a gap that affects everyone in the field. If you are using drone imagery for forest inventory, at what resolution do individual people become identifiable? If you are monitoring agricultural compliance with satellite data, what happens when that data reveals information about specific landowners? These are not hypothetical questions. GIS professionals are making these decisions every day, often without clear regulatory guidance. Building privacy by design into your geospatial workflows, collecting only the data you need at the resolution you need, is best practice.
What should GIS professionals do about this practically?
4 things. First, always validate AI models in your specific geography and report limitations honestly. Second, think about who your analysis affects and whether they have had input into how their data is used. Third, build privacy protections into your data collection and storage practices. Do not collect higher resolution data than your analysis requires. Fourth, stay informed about emerging regulations. The governance landscape is changing fast, and what is permissible today might not be next year. For forestry and environmental professionals specifically, community engagement around monitoring programs is not just ethically important, it also produces better data because local knowledge improves model accuracy.
Important topic that does not get enough attention: Ethics and governance are going to shape how geospatial AI develops.
They will. And GIS professionals who build ethical practices into their work from the start will be trusted partners as this technology scales. Trust is the foundation that everything else gets built on.